Hello and welcome to my review of the hotly anticipated return of Kesha Siebert, or just Kesha. She's no longer Kesha with a dollar sign. This is a big distinction. And this is the album Rainbow, which was just released this past Friday, the 11th of August of this year, 2017. And I've been really looking forward, as many have been, to hearing this album in full. I will say that this is definitely not an really entirely a pop album by any means, even though it is classified as such. It is not an album that is looking for top 40 radio hits. It is an album that is entirely kind of music that Kesha's always wanted to create before she got signed to Kemosabe Records, headed by the infamous, we don't even need to say his name at this point, record executive and producer who, well, the story we all know. I'm not going to get into it. It's very dark and depressing and the fact that she's been able to release music even though it's been 5 years since her last album, Warrior, came out, I was not expecting an album to come from her this soon still. I mean, because unfortunately, this thing is still going on. That's all I'm going to say. And I didn't know she could actually legally release music yet. So I was very excited to know, and she sort of waited until the last minute, to only a month before the album was going to come out, that she released everything. And I'm glad she did that, because it meant that the album didn't, feel like we took forever to get to it. It like came kind of all at once. She released singles every week leading up to the album release, so that we never really felt like we were starving too much, but we just had enough anticipation to like get really excited about this body of work. So I'm going to get right into this, and first of all, I just want to say this album cover is really unique and it's interesting to me, and I was really, really excited when I saw this album cover. And there are maybe a few things that maybe this album cover speaks that I'm not sure the album necessarily succincts with so well. I mean, I'm just not entirely always getting the vibes of the album cover on a lot of the songs or style of music that's employed on this album. But after listening to it a few times, it really does feel very cohesive. It really does have a very strong message at its core, which is all about self-empowerment and all about moving beyond the dark and depressing aspects and periods of your life, wherever they may be recurring, or if it was just one really horrible period in your life that you went through. And it is something that everyone can relate to, but I think people in particular who have experienced either very traumatic experiences or have been dealing with anxiety and depression will really, really strongly relate to. Kesha's been so open about that and her mental health in dealing with this record, and I'm really happy to hear that she's not afraid to finally be so honest and truthful about this and what was going on in her life. The opening track, Bastards, is a complete, it completely threw me for a loop. I saw that title track and I thought this is going to be a rock song. There's something so edgy about that title. It's one of the smoothest folk songs, I mean, we'll ever probably hear Kesha do. It is so not what I was initially expecting sound-wise, but I'm so happy that it is actually, instead of it being just a big FU song, which it kind of is, but it's so much more subtle and I think so much more intelligent than that. It's such a, graceful sort of, I'm going to move on despite all these horrible people who have done things to me. There's always going to be scumbags. There's always going to be mean girls. She talks about it. It's not just men she's dissing here. I mean, she's dissing everyone who is heartless, basically, and saying, like, that we will get through this together and I'm only getting started. The lyrics are really strong and she opens it up with just such a powerful, raw opener that I really applaud her for using as the opening track. And I'm really liking seeing her do this folky kind of sound. She definitely goes a lot more country in other songs on this album, which I actually don't have a problem with. But I think when she does folk, it feels so much more authentic. I mean, folk music is always going to feel very authentic. Folk and bluegrass, which she also does kind of tinge into some of the songs here as well. The next track, Let 'Em Talk, featuring Eagles of Death Metal. I saw that feature and I was like, okay, again, I was thinking again, we're going in another hard rock song. I had a kind of idea of how this album was going to sound when I saw the track listing. The song is a lot more pop sounding than I was actually initially expecting it to sound. However, I will have to say that just going through this track list, it is my least favorite song, just because I do find the chorus a little bit shouty and a little bit derivative. It's an okay song. It definitely has a really, again, very positive sort of, but yeah, you can sort of dance and jam out to party vibe that is very classic Kesha, but also so much more aware and kind of aware of its surroundings than in the past. And not that having Kesha hasn't been, I think, somewhat more aware in some of her earlier material, but it just feels a lot more raw and authentic. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. I'm okay with this sort of electric guitar sound. It's just the chorus for me is not really doing that much for me. It feels a little too fast, maybe a little too quick. I don't know. It feels just a little skippable to me. It's the only track on this album that I really would not like want to replay over and over again, you know? Um, so going into the next track, Woman, this song has such a, you know, it's a female empowerment song. It features the Dap King horns, which I actually forgot, and I actually knew of them way back in 2010. I listened to this song called Better Things featuring Sharon Jones. Well, it was by Sharon Jones and the Dap King's horns. And I loved that song. And I'm not so much into like jazzy sort of horn kind of, you know, that kind of aesthetic. But there was something just so feel good about that song. And this song employs that, even though I think the horns are a little bit in the background a little bit too much, but it's still very much a fun kind of cause a ruckus, but in a good way kind of song. I love that she doesn't take herself too seriously when she breaks down with the laughing. You feel so much warmth and personality in her tone and her delivery. And this video was filmed in just a random bar in Wilmington, which is not that far from where I live in Pennsylvania. And no one who's anywhere, especially someone who's from California, like Kesha, would think to go to Delaware to film a music video. And I just thought that was really kind of interesting. And I had to give a shout out to Wilmington for that oddity bar. I've never been there, but it was just, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, the music video was filmed in Delaware? No one goes to Delaware. Anyway, so it's a really good song to just kind of like roll your windows down and just like blast it, especially if you're feeling like, oh boy, like this misogynist, like oh my god, like this is just I need this right now. But it's not just for women, it's for guys too who just, you know, want to feel really confident in themselves. And again, it's a super powerful, fun track. We go then into Him, which was in another single released before the album. This is one of the only kind of electro-pop sounding songs on the record. It has a bit more of a style that I think she's trying to bridge sort of more with what she did in the past. And I think that it comes off pretty well. The song is very slow, yet it actually has, you know, like it's trying to like get a beat going. It's an okay track. I'm not like exactly like gonna phone home about it, but I do think it fits a little bit more the vibe of what the album cover was giving us, which I was expecting sort of more of a psychedelic electronic, almost, I don't want to say new age, but you know, like a little bit more synthesizer heavy sort of sound. And this song does go a little bit more in that direction, talking about a hymn for the hymnless, people with no religion, the lost youth. It has some of these kind of tropes that pop music has kind of really started, I mean, especially with Lady Gaga, like really addressed, but it doesn't feel too derivative for this song for me. However, again, it's not a like standout song. It's just kind of a nice sort of vibey, sort of chilled out song. And I do like the lyric that all the stars in the moon don't shine as bright as we do. I've never heard a lyric quite like that, and it just made me really think about like how special we all are and how beautiful and magical we all are. Even the stars in the moon are not as magical as us right now. Okay, so I have to talk about it. You know, this song came out over a month ago, and I've been doing reviews for a month now, and I haven't talked about this song yet because I wanted to wait for the album. But Praying is definitely one of my favorite songs on this album. When I first heard it, it was just one of those experiences. First of all, it was so shocking because we didn't know the album was actually coming. So it was like on top of that, all these emotions of Kesha returning. We'd known about her legal battles. We'd known about her traumatic experiences she's dealt with in the music industry. All of these things very, very artfully dealt with in this song, but again, ambiguous enough that she doesn't have to worry about someone thinking that she's directly dissing or she's directly whatever. She's completely above and beyond. She's on another level with this. Vocally, she is on par. We hear vocals we never heard from her before, and it's just one of the more raw and powerful songs that I have heard in quite a long time from a pop artist. In some ways, it is kind of what I wish Lady Gaga had done a little bit more with Joanne. I'd recently reviewed that album, and Joanne is a good album, and there are a lot of comparisons that I can draw between Joanne and Rainbow, not besides the fact that they both used to be a lot more EDM pop, and now we're going a lot more kind of folk, country, rock, alternative. But this song delivers in a way that I kind of wish Million Reasons or maybe Perfect Illusion had done, in that it just feels much more like the essence of the song in terms of the cathartic nature of how it builds and her vocals. It doesn't feel forced and over the top. Perfect Illusion feels very forced and over the top for me, and it swallows up the lyrics, which are very empowering and very important and cathartic, but it doesn't feel cathartic because there's just so much background noise and there's just so much craziness going on. And then Million Reasons is nice, but it's a little too stripped back in that it's so minimal and it's like almost doubting itself. It's like this song could get a little bit bigger. She could do a little bit more vocally with it. And she does in live performances. Seeing Kesha perform this song live on Good Morning America was very emotional. I know she's probably going to cry every time she sings this song. I wouldn't blame her. It's just knowing what she's been through, and you can put whatever experience you've had in your life when you mouth the words to the song or if you actually sing it, you will always feel those hardest moments in your life coming, and you'll feel the hope of moving forward from them. Again, something I am really digging right now, in particular in my life. I really needed this song when it came out and now, because I desperately need to come out of the darkness and into the rainbow or the light of color and living and wanting to live again and forgiving the demons and the people who have hurt us in the past. Couldn't recommend this song enough. And I like that at least it doesn't have profanity, so I can play it for my parents, because unfortunately songs like Bastards and Woman have profanity, and they're great songs, and I really want to play them for my parents, but I don't know if they can deal with the many times that motherfucker is said. We'll see. But anyway, moving on, we have Learn to Let Go. This is one of the more pop songs on the record, for sure, along with Him, but it's a much more kind of, it's a pop song that really knows where it wants to go, and it's very, anthemic, and it's got this very, it's sort of, it feels a little bit by this point, like, we get the message, like, I'm fine with you repeating it, but, like, learn to let go, forgive people in the past. And I love the music video where she's watching old videotapes of herself. I thought that was an amazing idea. I've never really seen a pop star quite do it like that before. So for me, the music video really made this song just that much more special, and I'm glad she did release a video with it. It's when with repeated listens, I'm getting more and more into it. Well, the first time I heard it, I was like, like I wasn't crazy about the chorus, but now it's really kind of hooked itself in my brain, and it is catchy. And it's a little bit meant for more for pop radio, but it still has such a more powerful, important message. Then we get to Finding You, which is a more classic love song on this record. It has a guitar, it has a very minimalistic kind of approach here, but it's very almost folk, but it's definitely a little bit more in like sort of just a classic alternative ballad sort of vibe. And it feels like a poem set to music because it's a little bit more abstract. She's talking about this dying love that lasts lifetime after lifetime, which is something that she's kind of talked about in previous songs on Worrier, where she had a song called Past Lives. And she also always kind of was like talking about like how she believed reincarnation and all of these things. So this song is playing to that, and it has that spiritual element because of it, and it makes it a little bit more than just like I'll be finding you, wherever you are. It's like, no, I'm going to find you in whatever life form that I'm actually inhabiting at this time. It takes it to that next level, which I think fits much better in the scope of this album because of that. Nice song. At first I was like, but now I'm like, no, dang, this is a really unique song, and I'm really vibing with the melody, and the guitar is really unique and kind of bouncy, and I like that. Then we come to Rainbow, the title track. This was the track after I heard Praying. I was extremely excited to hear how this title track was going to carry the weight of this album. I will say this, and some people are really going to disagree with me on this. It's difficult. This song, I maybe was putting way too much expectation on it. For me, I was expecting, again, looking at the album art, it's very trippy, psychedelic, new age almost. I was expecting a much more kind of, not electronic and like a pop sound, but I was expecting something like a little bit more kind of, how do I explain? Maybe a little bit more Coldplay, like a little bit more vibey, a little bit more like all in surround, kind of like new age electronica sound, like dreamwave, you know, like that kind of vibe, ambient even. I was expecting something, you know, where she was going to talk about this spiritual experience of coming into this, like, you know, riding this rainbow. I don't know. Maybe I just put way too much of my own sort of like expectations onto this song. Instead, what we get is a very stripped back, very kind of, I don't want to say gutted, but it feels like everything else was poured aside, which she does use amazing orchestral elements in the song, all real instruments, really raw, powerful vocal performance. It's just, for me, the melody feels a little bit like it's not quite reaching what it could reach. And so I am finding with repeated listens, I'm getting into it more. I just think it was that first listen where I was a little underwhelmed, and then I had to remember that I have to put my preconceptions aside. The lyrics are still so powerful and important to this song. She wrote this song when she was at one of the lowest points in her life, I think on just like a small little keyboard on the floor, if I'm remembering correctly. And there is that like playful childlike sort of seeing the world through the eyes of a child and writing a song through the innocence of a child who just wants love and just wants to find that rainbow. And I do feel that from the song. The part where she does the ooze, the melody harmonies in that are so beautiful, and it's definitely the highlight of the track for me. And it does have sort of this grand sort of orchestral vibe that definitely feels like it could fill I mean, again, it could build a little more in my opinion, but it definitely feels like I'm going to like grow into this more as I listen to it with repeated listens. You'll find a rainbow, baby. Trust me, I know life is scary, but just put those colors on, girl. Come and play along with me tonight. You know, all these things of like, I know the world is going to break us down again and again and again, but we have to wear our colors. You know, she talked about in the Good Morning America interview how she's always wearing rainbow now. Like, she can't wear black, drab colors anymore. It's this change in her perception and her mentality. So I really appreciate the fact that, again, she's still being so open and honest. It's a really powerful song that is growing on me with repeat every time I listen to it. It's definitely not a skippable track. I just would say that for me, I just was expecting something that had a little bit more of a trippy sort of vibe that wasn't just so much more kind of like, I don't want to say down to earth in its presentation, but it was a little bit for me. Then we come to the kind of country section of the album with Hunt You Down. This song is previewed in Woman, and I was like really into the hook that we heard in the verse right there at the beginning. And oh my goodness, I love this song, even though I really am not that big of a country music fan. But you know what's interesting is when I know artists like Kesha or Lady Gaga do country, it feels so, I don't want to say wise, but it feels like because they have those pops mentalities around how they create hooks and how they create music that's a little bit more than just one genre, it never feels confined like a lot of country songs do to me. So even though this is like I'm trying to be a country swing song, it feels to me very like aware that it's like either parodying itself or it's just a really fun like look at my versatility and look how I can make stuff that sounds a little bit better than the average country song, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's just got an undeniable hook. The lyrics are so hilarious but true. Like, I will hunt you down. Like, you can't get away from me. I need you this badly. Like, I feel that urgency and I totally vibe with it, especially where I am right now in my life. So, as far as my relationship mentality goes, I'm totally feeling the vibe and the feel of the song. And Kesha's always been a bit of a country girl. Her mother was a Nashville songwriter. It just feels natural that she would go for that. Her voice fits it so well, with the, you know, the timbre of her voice and the way it kind of flows and the melody of it. Then we come to Boogie Feet, featuring Eagles of Death Metal again. This song is actually really undeniably catchy. And again, after Learn to Let Go and Him, this song is going a bit more in a pop direction. In fact, this song, if I had to pick one song that would feel like it belonged directly on Animal, or her first album, or Warrior, I would pick this song, especially in the verses where she's kind of auto-tuning her voice again, which we haven't heard in a little while. It's so classic Kesha. It's so reckless and it's so, you know, cheeky and witty and playful and a little bit sexy. It's so much what we would expect from classic Kesha in that regard. So in a way, she's playing like a little bit of homage, but like having just a lot of fun. I love the Dance With Me by the Eagles of Death Metal frontman. It just feels like so like, I don't know. It just is so catchy and it's so like, it pulls you in, and that electric guitar really pulls this, like, really pulls this hard. So again, I mean, it's not a favorite by any means, but it's a fun song, and it's not a song I was actually expecting to like so much, because I didn't like the Let 'Em Talk song with Eagles of Death Metal so much. But they're very different songs in some regards. One's a lot more electronic leaning and pop leaning, and the other's a lot more like a little bit more on the rock and roll side, though, I mean, again, it's still got some pop elements. Then we come to Boots. This is like a country song that decided to be so much more. It was like, you know, I'm going to start out with all these country tropes, a bit like Lady Gaga did with Joanne. I love the opening with the bird sound. It has this atmospheric quality to it, and then it just is like, we're going to go EDM. We're just going to have like a lot of fun with a really fun beat. We're going to use this concept that is very sexy. It is very over the top, very classic Kesha in its delivery and its presentation. Again, I feel like this song could fit very well on her Warrior album. It's, you know, it's just got this very sort of, I don't care what people think of me, I'm that crazy girl, but I'm having fun. Like, and it has, again, like, it just feels kind of Americana. It feels like, well, obviously the Boots, alluring to cowboys, alluring to kind of like country, all those country aesthetics. And it has like that kind of gritty vibe. And I like that about it. It's one of those songs that like knowing my aesthetic, it's like not really me, but I can get into it because I do like the hook and I do like the funness of it. And the sort of frivolity of the song, you know, it's not taking itself too seriously, which a lot of the first half of the album is so serious. We need to lighten things up a little bit. But when we get to Old Flames, Can't Hold a Candle to You, the Dolly Parton song, which was written by her mother way back when, that she kind of reprises and covers, featuring Dolly herself, we come to more classic country singer-songwriter, a little bit of rock vibe. And I am really, you know, it's funny. I mean, I guess it's not like my favorite song. Maybe I thought it was going to be my favorite just because I do like really love Dolly Parton. Dolly definitely stands out for me on this track. It's the only song on the album I haven't actually listened to that much. I don't know, it just kind of got lost in the mix. So maybe I need to just listen to it more before I can really speak too much. It is a cover song, so I don't want to talk too much about the songwriting because it was written so long ago, and it's, you know, it definitely fits, though, again, like this whole aesthetic, endearing country folk songs that really have such deep meaning to it, but has dealing with love, dealing with heartache, all of these things. And so it would fit on a Dolly album, and it fits now on a new Kesha album, and who would have thought those two would come together way back when, but now it feels so natural. So I'm so proud of her, and I know she's so excited to be on with Dolly Parton. I know that was just such a huge deal for her, as it would be for almost any artist. I mean, come on, it's Dolly Parton. So then we come to Godzilla. Very intrigued by this song when I saw the title. This is like that one song that's like really short that she just felt like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm still gonna be like kind of crazy Kesha here, but I'm gonna go folk again. It's very stripped back. And it does have like this sort of jokey kind of, you know, she's talking about a boyfriend who she can't bring home to her mother because he's a mess. He's terrorizing the mall. Everyone runs from him. He just wants video games and pizza. Everyone can relate to that sort of partner where they're sort of like, oh, like, I don't know, how do I bring this person home to my parents or like show them to my friends? They're so like different. But one of the things that makes it a little bit more than just like a fun little like Taylor Swifty kind of relationship song, because it does have a little bit of that vibe. It feels like it could very belong on Taylor Swift's Red album, because it has like a little bit of that like anecdotal, like, I'm just going to give you like one little snippet of my love life into this little cute little guitar song that I'll sing at like a country fair. But the one thing that rises it above is she is kind of talking about people who do kind of act so differently and feel so differently from the rest of the world that people do view them as monsters or aliens. And so I feel that vibe from this song a lot more, which I don't know if she was necessarily going for that too strongly, but for me, it elevates it a little bit more than just like a girl singing about like this crazy ex she had or this really funny boyfriend that she might be currently having. And it's like a fun song that she'd sing at their wedding, like joking, "You're such a Godzilla, ha ha ha," you know, like at the, you know, like the toast of the wedding. It has like that sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, like endearingly poking fun at someone. And it's cute and it's homely. Now we come to Spaceship. this is where she dives into a theme I was really excited and hoping to see really recurring in this album, which is talking about feeling like an alien in, on this planet. And, because of all the things that Kesha has been through, I totally can see how motivating and uplifting it would be to feel as though you are an alien on this planet. I definitely feel that way. I know so many people do, especially creative artists. And through Kesha showing her boundless creativity on this album, it makes perfect sense that she would end the album thematically with this theme. She actually was inspired to write this song by a UFO sighting that she says she was sober for, that she had in Joshua Tree National Park. And I mean, I believe in UFOs, and I know Kesha does. She's not been secretive about that in the past. And I love that she kind of uses that as like, it's like, a lot of people would view this song as metaphorical. Like, oh, she's not really singing about a spaceship. But a part of her like really does believe this, and she kind of is singing about it. When I interpret it, I kind of don't take it so metaphorically. I really do believe in this kind of stuff. Maybe not in the cheesy UFO tropes that we're used to, like with a flying saucer. I mean, she depicts on the album art in such a kind of beautiful, simplistic, cartoonish way that feels very surreal. Salvador Dali comes to mind with the album cover, obviously, because of the eyeball and the water flowing and teardrops and all of these tropes. But I really love the way at the end she breaks into just speaking and sort of singing this sort of mantra that sounds like something that really got into her through a tough time. As I leave this earth and sail into the infinite cosmic universe, the wars, the triumphs, the beauty, and the bloodshed, the ocean of human endeavor, really love that line, the ocean of human endeavor, it all grows quiet, insignificant. I'm nothing more than recycled stardust and borrowed energy, born from a rock, spinning in the ether. I watch my life backwards and forwards, and I feel free. Nothing is real, love is everything, and I know nothing. So the Zen sort of one with the universe hippie vibe is definitely coming forward on this track. It is exactly what I was looking for with this album. Kesha is professing herself to be like boundless in her spirit, and she's expressing that she really feels connected to something so much larger than just a dogmatic religious ideology of religion or a god in the sky, but the connection of recycled stardust, of us being part of something so consciously moving and, not linear like we view time, and it's more like all happening at once, the chaos and the beauty of it. And, life is chaotic, and you have to kind of look at it with this sort of lens. In my mind, I can't look at life any other way than this sort of spiritual, multidimensional understanding of our identity and how we progress up and ascend through our lifetimes to higher places, the ones which we once were at before we fell. And so I know I get really deep with these sort of illusions, but it really means a lot to me. And then, of course, at the end, she has a very Florence and the Machine ending to this album, which I love, where she actually has the sound of a spaceship and some beautiful vocal breakdowns that really, really sent a chill down my spine. I heard the end and I was like, oh my God, the spaceship came for her. Kesha, you're in a better place now. Like, I really felt that. And I'm so glad it ended like that, on a bit more of a surreal, transcendental vibe. Because I won't say that, like, again, like, I came to Rainbow thinking it was going to be a little bit more surreal, like the album cover, something that I'd listen to and think, like, this is a spiritual experience. Like, I need to be in a temple in India, like, meditating to this song. Because, some of the imagery for the praying music video and the way, she has the third eye on her forehead, I was getting a lot of those kind of Hindu Buddhist vibes from a lot of the stuff she was talking about. And yeah, then she goes a little bit more country bluegrass, which, is a little bit, I don't want to say it's too down to earth, but it's not quite, there, but she still is so endearing and emotional and delivering and open with her feelings. So I'm fine with Spaceship being that kind of one glimpse into that. Maybe I wished it was done a little bit more in Rainbow, yes, but that's just fine with me. I mean, this is still far more than I was ever expecting to get from a Kesha album. And it's, again, like, so many surprises recently with music, of like me expecting something completely different and not realizing that this is what I needed for music right now. So for me, it's a very stellar album. The one skippable track for me is Let 'Em Talk. I would say my favorite song on the record is probably Praying, to be perfectly honest, just because of the emotional rawness to it. It's so well composed, the melody, that high note, all of these things, the music video. And then I would also say that Bastards is high up there. Spaceship, Boots is also another one that I would come back to. And then Finding You a little bit as well is definitely a highlight. All the songs have the little things that I like about them. She's exploring, again, like a rainbow of sounds, lots of different, styles of music, and it feels still very cohesive, and it's a good run time. I really enjoyed this record, and a lot of the songs are going to grow on me more over time too. So let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I don't know if I'll review her other two albums from the past. I may get to them at some point, but for now, this is definitely my favorite album of hers for sure. Because I wasn't the hugest Kesha fan back in the past. I liked some of her stuff because it was fun to dance to, and I was in high school, and I was a teenager, and, like, that's all kind of fun. But I feel like, we've grown past that a little bit, and she definitely has. And so, again, also, it's just so sad. I mean, it does make you think, like, God, how manufactured was TikTok? And, blah, 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 and, like, all those songs that she made in the past, or even Die Young. It's a shame, but, it is pop music is a vicious machine, and to get the hits and to get the money coming in, these producers are ruthless. And they will sculpt a singer to look exact and sing in exactly a certain way, and they'll auto-tune their voice like crap. And they make a lot of hits, but then once they finally get past that, they start to really create some raw, powerful music. But, that's just exploration of artistry and people evolving and changing, and hopefully the music industry kind of shifts away from that formula going forward, but we'll see. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and here's to being just as evolved and, overcoming this darkness and going on that spaceship like Kesha is doing going forward. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.